It's interesting thought, and it's your thought which I'm capturing here. I think all of you heard him say that reform of UN is actually connected to decolonization. And what I guess you mean by that is so long as Africa and Latin America and parts of the decolonized Asia are not adequately and appropriately reflected, the UN is still actually a reflection of a colonial era organization. So I think it's a great idea. I really think that posing the reform issue in terms of perpetuating a colonial era is something which we all need to think about. But on the UN reform itself, there's actually been progress. It was interesting. I think you had a pre-panel of, there's a IGN process, the Intergovernmental Negotiation process. The chairs of that are Kuwait and Austria. And the chairs were visiting India. They participated in a panel before this conference.
It was a curtain raiser actually.
Formally began. And what is happening right now is we have finally moved the needle to a point where proposed different models of how to reform the UN are being presented before the UN. So there's a Mexico model, there's a Lichtenstein model. I don't know if the foreign minister of Lichtenstein is here in the audience. She was here at the conference yesterday. I spoke to her. There's an L69 model of which India is also part, which is largely a global south view. I think Nigeria is also part of it. The G4 will give theirs, Africa will present it. So actually, finally, we've reached a point where very specific views of the key elements of reform, that's being that's being heard in a way. Now, we'll have to see, okay, after you hear everybody out, what's the next step? Where do you go? That's not clear as yet. But we certainly, we have a strong view about the need for reform. We will put those views forward. When you have 200 odd members, it makes sense that the body will hear everybody out and we will come to some kind of middle ground. I mean, that's what diplomacy and negotiations are about. But again, there's a very clever mind game being played, which is, how can we reform the body unless we have consensus? That's like saying, how can I take the exam because I don't know the result? So this is another way of perpetuating what you clearly pointed out was a sort of a colonized United Nations.
In fact,